The following may not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Woman dies in horrific accident on Uriah Butler Highway. Husband hospitalized. The wife of a medical doctor died in a vehicular crash in Chaguanas early Friday morning. Nadia Lala, 32, of Point Pleasant Park, Cunupia, died at the scene of the crash, and her husband, Dr. Alan Richard Lala, has been hospitalized. Nadia Lala was an occupant of a red Kia Sportage that lost control on the northbound lane of the Uriah Butler Highway. The vehicle overturned several times and landed on its hood in an empty lot near Mulchan-Suchan Road. A police report said that at around 1:50 a.m., Corporal Mohammed and PC Morali of the Chaguanas Police responded to the report of a fatal road accident on the highway. The police report said that Dr. Lala crawled out from the wreckage and sought help from security officers of the Unit Trust Corporation branch UTC at Chaguanas. The security officers on duty at the UTC contacted police and other emergency services. Dr. Lala was taken by ambulance to the Chaguanas District Health Facility, then transferred to the Eric Williams Medical Sciences Complex, Mount Hope. A district medical officer examined the body of the woman and ordered it removed for an autopsy next week pending testing for the COVID-19 virus. The report said that officers went to the EWMSC to interview Dr. Lala, but at that time he was undergoing medical treatment. Officers of the Chaguanas Fire Station, under the supervision of FSO Mohammed, also responded. Corporal Mohammed of the Chaguanas Police is continuing investigations. Man narrowly escapes death during armed robbery. A 33-year-old Arima man narrowly escaped death after being robbed and shot at on Thursday night. Police said the man was driving his white Mazda motor vehicle on Andrew Lane, Diabati at around 11:45 p.m. when a white Nissan AD wagon blocked his vehicle. An assailant alighted from the vehicle, grabbed the man by his T-shirt, and announced a robbery. The man struggled with the assailant and managed to get away, leaving his car behind upon hearing gunshots. After hiding nearby, the man went back to his car and found $2,000 missing. His wallet, documents, and music equipment were also stolen. Police went to the area and found 2 spent shells. Arima CID are continuing inquiries. Chaguanas contractor charged with forgery. A contractor is due to appear virtually before the Chaguanas court on Thursday for alleged forgery in relation to a parcel of state land. Devon Richardson, 38, of San Fernando, was charged with uttering a forged document to a representative of the state. It is alleged that on October 19, 2021, the accused tried to defraud the government of Trinidad and Tobago of a parcel of state land at Hindustan Junction, New Grand, Princestown. Through use of a forged Government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Ministry of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries, Land Management Division, Commissioner of State Lands letter dated February 3, 2020. A report of the incident was made to the Anti-Corruption Investigations Bureau, ACIB, on November 23, 2021, and an investigation launched. Investigations were supervised by Senior Superintendent Derek Walker and Superintendent Avinash Singh, and assisted by Inspectors Baron Daniel and Alicia Macmillan, and Sergeant Gerard Baldwin. Richardson was arrested on March 8, 2022 at the Marabella Police Station and charged by Baldwin on March 9 following advice from the Director of Public Prosecutions, Roger Gaspard, SC. High Court judge calls for accountability from judicial officers. Outspoken High Court Judge Frank C. Prasad has welcomed calls for more transparency and accountability in the administration of justice. Prasad made the comments yesterday after he was forced to postpone the trial of a case brought by a woman who claims she was assaulted and falsely imprisoned by Defense Force personnel during the 2011 limited state of emergency because of delays by attorneys in filing legal submissions. Justice C. Prasad said, "Judicial officers must understand that we do not live in ivory towers, and our judicial independence does not insulate us from accountability in relation to our performance. Our oath of office imposes upon us an obligation to serve and defend citizens and the Constitution." Saying the public discourse over the issue is welcomed, overdue, and necessary, Justice C. Prasad suggested that recent public comments reveal that the problem is multidimensional. He also sought to raise concerns over the continued closure of court buildings and the reliance on virtual hearings during the COVID-19 pandemic. It must not be lost that there should always be a human face to justice, and we cannot allow the existing technology to replace the need for empathy, which is best addressed when there is actual physical engagement, Justice C. Prasad said. However, he admitted that virtual hearings should be incorporated into blended operations when court buildings reopen to members of the public. He suggested that the lack of physical hearing during the pandemic was especially dire to the criminal justice system, as there were no jury trials and very few virtual judge-alone trials. How is this society tolerating the fact that no jury trial has occurred in over 2 years, while thousands await their day in court? Justice C. Prasad asked, as he noted that jury trials have already resumed in Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean. Referring specifically to the delays in the case before him, attributed to state attorneys and private attorneys, C. Prasad suggested that serious action must be taken by judicial officers to address such. Delays with respect to procedural timelines must be addressed, and there have to be disciplinary and reputational consequences when lawyers fail to discharge their obligations with professionalism and efficiency, he said. Addressing questions during a Conversations with the Prime Minister event on Tuesday, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley had lamented the unacceptably low delivery of justice in the country. Rowley said over the past 7 years, Cabinet gave the judiciary priority with hundreds of millions of dollars in resources and had piloted administrative and legislative reforms to help improve efficiency. He said the Cabinet had done everything they could have done to facilitate the acceleration of the justice system, so there must be something somewhere else. It simply means there's something more in the mortar than the pestle. Delay in justice in T&T is hurting us in more ways than one, and we have to find a way to remove that from the system. It's not fair to the persons in Remand Yard to be lying down there for how many years waiting for a day in court, Rowley said. In an interview with Guardian Media on Wednesday, Law Association President Sophia Choate, SC, said while she cannot say how much money was pumped into the judiciary, she also agreed with Rowley's statements. "I have not seen an acceleration in the progress of cases. People may quote statistics to say any number of cases may have been concluded within a certain space of time. But we have to factor into the contextual position the age of these matters. Certainly the pandemic has not helped," Choate said. Choate said she believes the Prime Minister was right to demand accountability for the money spent in the judiciary. "I think when money is invested in any institution, not only the judiciary, when money is invested in any institution, the stakeholders who use the institution or who are most likely to be participating in the institution processes will want to know that they are getting an improved service, and quite frankly, I don't know that I can say that from a lawyer's perspective." While she admitted that attorneys contribute to delays, she said focus should be placed on the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP. Unfortunately, a lot of the blame is often placed on the private bar, but we forget that when we talk about the under-resourcing of the Director of Public Prosecutions, that has an impact on the slow pace of the matters proceeding before the courts simply because they don't have enough personnel. So the delays or adjournments are not only sought by members of the private bar, Choate said. In a statement issued yesterday, Attorney Martin George said that while he concurs with the Prime Minister's pronouncements on the slow pace of justice, some measures taken by Judiciary during the pandemic, including electronic filing and virtual courts, should be embraced as possible solutions. It is a much faster, more efficient, and seamless way of delivering and dispensing justice, as opposed to the old cumbersome way of going in person for trials and flying in witnesses or foreign experts at great expense when you could just take their evidence by video link, George said. Too early to treat COVID-19 as endemic, says Dr. Farley Cleghorn. It has been 2 years since T&T recorded its first COVID-19 cases. After a long battle with the disease, the government is now determined it's time to change gears, moving toward treating the disease as endemic. While it's a relief for many who are exhausted with the pandemic, public health policy diplomat and epidemiologist Dr. Farley Cleghorn says the move comes with some caveats. He said considering the outbreak as endemic means it will no longer be combated by initiating national emergency responses, but by sustained management of the disease, accepting it as part of life. This means no more lockdowns and heavy restrictions. It means how do we incorporate it into our daily lives, into our daily task, into public health, into surveillance, into hospital care. All of that has to be accomplished, but on a non-emergent basis. However, given T&T's epidemiology, he does not believe that the country is at endemic level as yet, as its wave of infection appears to have plateaued at a relatively high level. Trinidad today has an average 7-day case rate of about 350 cases, and it has an average 7-day death rate of 5 cases. That is not endemic. If you want to call that endemic, it means in perpetuity we will be mounting a robust response against COVID, he said. If we look at the data for Trinidad, Trinidad is not even in what I call the tail end of the epidemic, because at 300 or 400 cases a day, that's not the tail end. Dr. Cleghorn believes the number of fatalities needs to be reduced to 0 for a comfortable admission of endemicity. He admits the science is uncertain about what is an endemic level of the SARS-CoV-2 virus within a given population. He said a clearer picture can be developed by comparing it to other diseases such as yellow fever or seasonal influenza. The chief features of endemicity are stability, predictability, and perhaps seasonality. None of those have a clear answer for coronavirus. They don't, he said. He said the move toward endemicity is understandable, as many other countries are adopting a similar perspective. However, he said it was crucial that contingencies are put in place to mount an effective national response should the outbreak regain momentum. It is a declared policy shift, which is acceptable, but you gotta back it up. You have to be able to back it up so you know the situation in your country and that you can hit the surge button on the response again, he said. You have to put plans in motion that you can operationalize should that situation arise. How would you know that situation will arise? You have to leave in place the detection and surveillance mechanisms that allow you to know what the accurate daily count is. Despite the move towards resuming some semblance of normalcy, Dr. Cleghorn believes many public health measures, such as social distancing and mask wearing, will persist for the foreseeable future.